Is it okay to borrow money to buy something that you can't afford? That's a question that my wife saw running across a friend's Twitter timeline, and her friend was playing devil's advocate and they were trying to flesh out the issues back and forth. Of course, fleshing it out from a professional point of view, since they are involved in corporate practice and they all have legal backgrounds. Now, for those of you who have similar backgrounds, I guess you already know the answer or different kinds of perspectives. But I thought it's something that I'd share on the group today because, especially in the Christian business community, it's something that is not entirely quite settled, and I'll get into that. Now, in my own personal opinion, I think whether it's okay to borrow money to buy something depends on what it is that you're buying. Now, if you're buying an asset, for those of you who are familiar with the Rich Dad Poor Dad series, that's Robert Kiyosaki and his advisors, they like to keep things simple. So they define an asset as anything that puts money in your pocket and a liability as anything that takes money out of your pocket. So if you're going to buy something that puts money in your pocket and put enough money at the rate that can offset the loan that you took in the first place, then I think it's not such a bad idea. But then if you borrow the money for consumables, basically things that are going to make money go out of your pocket. So let's say, I don't know, you borrow the money so you can buy a fancy watch. Then maybe that's not such a good idea. And I guess that's the common man's way of looking at it. I guess that's the accepted wisdom of looking at it. Of course, if you look at it from a financing point of view, then things can get a little more technical with different kinds of financing models that look at opportunity cost, the rate of returns, and things like that. Anyway, when my wife and I had that conversation, I told her about the interesting perspective in the Christian business community. Now, there are a couple of people in the business community who run their businesses. Well, this is sort of like an American movement, who run their businesses on certain premises that you can get from the Bible. Some of them coming from the book of Proverbs, I think. And there are lots of passages there that talk about debt enslaving people. And so there's a strong Christian business community in America that does not agree with using borrowed money, using debt, or using leverage of any kind to promote your business. I don't quite agree with it, but I must say that there are some fascinating examples of how people have built their businesses without borrowing money whatsoever. Although my wife argues, and it's a valid argument, that perhaps the successful businesses that we've seen could have been even much more bigger or could have grown faster if they had used leverage. So that's what I wanted to share. That's what I wanted to share with you today. That little argument that came up on my wife's Twitter timeline. I think timeline is what they call it. I'm not quite sure. So, does it make sense to borrow money to buy something that you can't afford? It depends on what that thing is. If you're buying something that is going to put money in your pocket and is going to leave enough spare change so that you can pay back the loan, that doesn't seem like such a bad idea. If you're going to buy something that is going to take money out of your pocket, then perhaps it might not be such a good idea. However, for those of you who want to run your businesses based on Christian principles or sound Christian principles, depending on who you are, I'll try and look for those resources and put them in the comment section under the video. I think the fellow's name is Ramsey. So for those of you who want to run your businesses according to Christian models, then maybe debt might not be such a good thing. But then again, I'm not a Christian scholar, and I don't know if stuff like this is covered in Christian business ethics. Well, anyway, that's beyond my specialty. So that's it for today.